Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It is your Caped Crusader, Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our two new friends, Sam and Trey of Raze Comics. Sam, you have been someone who I've been talking to for like the last 2 months. It's nice to finally get face to face. And Trey, of course, it is awesome to see the other man behind the comic as well. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Cody.
So how are you guys doing today? Let's start breaking things down. You know, how did you two end up meeting before Raze Comics was even a thing?
So we're middle school best friends. So we've been best friends for like more than 15 years. We've been working on Raze for 15 years. But yeah, we met in middle school, and like we kind of just hit it off the first like day we met. He brought out like these like boneless barbecue wings, and I'm like, yo, I really like this dude. We're gonna be really close.
Man, what a flex though. In middle school to pull that out, like that's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
That's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
So did you guys have any idea that you would be creating comics at this point? Like Trey, were you like an artist in middle school, high school, you know, or Sam, were you writing? You know, what was your guys' life like in middle school with each other?
I mean, I doodled a bit. Nothing even remotely close to, you know, comics and panels and full scenes and stuff like that. I was just kind of drawing these little characters here and there. And then it just kind of, it was a last minute thing like, hey, we kind of need an artist. So then I just kind of hopped on last minute. It's like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been writing since I was in like 3rd grade, and I always loved the horror genre. So I was just like writing these stories that like, you know, I would say I go pretty far with my ideas. So he's kind of like that rubber band snap when, you know, he's like, yo, we're not doing this. This is
pull it back a little bit, Sam.
So it was like good to, I kind of compare it to the whole South Park creators. Like you need that Trey or Matt Stone in the room that's going to help you bounce those ideas back where they're not totally insane.
So was Raze Comics like issue number 1 your guys' first venture into creating indie comics, or where would you say your first steps was actually like at?
It's probably Patient Zero. We did issue 1, and then we kind of like had it in front of us and we're like, wow, this is crap, and we threw it away, and then we kind of restarted, and the issue 1 you see now is like the 3rd attempt at issue 1. Because it just took so long with different artists and different ideas and figuring out how we wanted to storyboard it and how the panels wanted to flow. So it was a lot of like kind of trial and error for issue 1, but that is our first official kind of footstep into the comic industry.
So at that point, Trey, you were the artist for issue 1?
I did the first half of issue 1. So I was doing just the basic line art, and then we had hired a other person to do all the inking. So he was going to do all the finalizing of line work and stuff like that. And then just because at the time, I forgot what I was doing. I was working some crazy job hours. So I would get home at like 2 a.m. and I'd get on the Cintiq and I'd start drawing until who knows when. And then we're like, all right, this is not working. We're running short on time. So then we hired another artist to finish 1. And then they've been doing that up until 4.
Man, Trey was probably feeling like one of the affected when he was done with the page after those long hours, huh?
Dude, I'd finish the page, I'm like, I have to do this 23 more times. Oh my God.
Man, so like let's start breaking things down. Like it was, so going into this, I know we joked a lot on Twitter about it, Sam, but going into this, you know, I wouldn't say it felt like a zombie story, but the way you explained it, because like limitations on Twitter, you know, it kind of seemed like somewhat of a zombie story, but it was like fully like something that felt like a 28 Days Later kind of scenario where it's just full on rage, and the brutality of it, I couldn't get enough of it. Like you guys were not afraid to have someone get their face like literally beaten in, and dude, the detail was just phenomenal. Like for you guys, was that important to make sure it was as graphic as it was to like showcase the true horror of it?
Yeah, I mean, me and him talk about it all the time. It was always like this conversation of like, yo, issue 1, we want to come out the gate swinging. Like the whole point of issue 1 was like, we wanted people to read and be like, holy shit, what the hell did I just read? And it was always this moment where we talk about TV shows or comics or whatever kind of medium of storytelling is. We always hated the conversation of, oh, you gotta watch up to this point till it gets good, or you gotta wait until this happens. It's like, no, like we want to come out the gate swinging and get people prepared for what the world of Raze can do.
I really liked how it started off on the bridge as well. That kind of gave me some Left 4 Dead vibes a little bit. I think, what was it, Bill's Sacrifice, where he like they were actually on the bridge and everything. Did that have any like impact for you guys, or what was some of your inspirations for, you know, the Raze Comics issue 1 through 4?
You hit the nail on the head, my friend. Left 4 Dead was one of the biggest inspirations for the series overall, like completely. I'd say in terms of why we started on the bridge, so Raze, we tried to ground as much as we possibly could, and part of doing that was to find real locations we can use. So Bear Mountain Bridge, where number 1 takes place, is a real bridge. We actually went to New York and we mapped it out, and so we took some actual photos. So essentially, people in the real world can kind of travel through the route of the characters in the comics. So it was really just kind of, how can we make this real? What can we take from real life to kind of make it more immersive and more of a better story, I would say.
Yeah, that I remember Sam telling me that, and I wanted to save that juice for you guys. I didn't want to like touch on that, like, because it's such an awesome concept. What drove you guys to want to do that? Because it seems that there, you know, a lot of travel, a lot of design. You know, why make something so immersive on that level?
Man, I mean, it's just the fact of like when we created this. So a little backstory, but like when we created this was first of all going to be a video game. So developers, reach out to us when you're interested. But it was supposed to be a video game, and I was actually going to college to become a video game designer. And then we're like, yo, making video games are really, really hard.
Yeah.
And then so we were like, okay, let's make a graphic novel. And they were like, yo, a graphic novel is really hard too. And then we kind of just landed on comics, and it was always about like making you feel immersed in this world. You know, even if it wasn't a book, we wanted to pull anything and everything we could from the real world to almost make you believe, in a sense, this could happen or this is a possibility. And that's kind of where the real locations came into play.
So it's so hard for me to begin without like seeing where I'm going to be breaching spoiler territory. What are we looking at, I guess? Because I don't know what's revealed in issue 5. What is this like infection? Like, are you able to talk about that, or is that something that's spoiling?
I guess I wouldn't say it's too spoilerish. I mean, we do dive into what is the infection, how does it work, you know, what's the time frame of somebody turning into an infected. I guess one thing I can say is in regards to how it spreads, because I feel as though in the zombie genre, a lot of it is just, what are the base rules of it? How does it spread from person to person? You know, you have, you know, works of art like, you know, the Last of Us video game, and they work like off of the cordyceps virus, I think, and it's like all transmitted by like biting. What I can say is about ours is it doesn't spread by bite, it spreads by touch, skin to skin contact. So we figured, all right, if we're gonna make these things fast and strong, what's the worst possible way they can spread it is by touching you. So they're designed to just kind of spread it as quick as possible.
That just seems like to add like a whole new layer of like what potential like there is. Like, you know, like you don't want to get touched at all, like let alone getting scratched or bitten. If you get touched, you're screwed. Like, is there any sort of like, if you sneeze or any sort of like bodily fluids that like amplify that as well, or is it just touch?
So it's solely based on touch, but it's in the bloodstream. So in the issues that we have out so far, you'll be able to see it is actually on the hands, on the palms. They have these little blood-filled warts, and what happens is when they come in contact with you, they kind of burst, and it kind of, you know, gets into the skin of the person they touch, and that's how it kind of spreads from person to person. Now, there are things in place that can kind of negate that or compensate for that, which we do get into down the road, but essentially it is just skin to skin. It's like a bloodborne kind of thing.
Okay. I love Bloodborne, so I love that little emphasis there as well. So what was this creative process for you two? Like, you both are the creators of this, so what did that writing look like for you guys, or that creating process look like for you two?
A lot of rewrites. It was about getting, I think, the characters and story right. Just because you'll kind of notice, and when you read these issues, it's almost like a movie. There's kind of like 3 acts, so you kind of get the beginning, the middle, and the end. And each issue we try to do kind of has a theme towards it. As far as the creative process of me and him going back and forth, it's kind of like I'm throwing something at a wall and seeing if it sticks, and then he's the one coming in and saying, "Yo, why are we doing this?" We always try to have a point to any idea we have. We don't like to just throw an idea out there and you're like, "Oh, look at this random person," and that doesn't amount to anything. It's always just this constant question of why are we doing this? What effects is this gonna have? How is this gonna play out? So it's a lot of things of just kind of like seeing if it works or not. And it's a lot of last minute stuff. Like we've done stuff where like, okay, we're doing this for this issue, and like day before it comes out, like, yo, we should change this to this, and like, can we fit it in? Okay, let's do it. And it's just kind of like whatever works at this point, and whatever creates the best story possible.
So Trey, I gotta ask, what was some of the craziest things Sam like came up with, like for issues like 1, 2, and 3, and 4 that you just had to get off the table?
Oh, jeez.
He's like, where do I begin?
Nothing's really popping out to me too much. I mean, it's just because we've written so much. Like we're on issue 5 now, but we've written a lot of after 5. So I have the most recent ideas kind of in my head. But I guess the original version that we threw away, and this is very exclusive, I've never told anybody this, is when we originally were gonna do this, there was this like oil tanker that spilled on the bridge, and there was this like it like spilled some kind of crazy chemicals and stuff like that, and there were people like disintegrating and melting, and at first we're like, yeah, this is good. Then I'm just like, no, what are we doing? This doesn't make any sense at all. We got to go back to the drawing board. That's the one that sticks up the most to me, but we go back and forth a lot. So, and it's not just him. I do have some ideas that are kind of out there too. So it's a lot of like push and pull between the two of us.
So with issue 1, let's start breaking down the issues. With issue 1, we see everyone kind of meeting up on the bridge, and we get a really good look at Ian and kind of just how much of a douchebag he is. Like, Ian just seems like a big douchebag. What was Ian's problem? Like, give me a breakdown of this guy.
So first off, he's based off a real person, but the real person is not like this at all. So it's my stepbrother. We used to just play Left 4 Dead online, and he would just bring out this like, I'm so confident, even if I'm on the floor dying, I'm gonna tell you, like, pick me up, you piece of crap, or you can't make it to the end without me. And we kind of just like took that and we ran with it. So for Ian, he's just this egotistical, like, rich kid, doesn't know anything that's going on in this world, let alone a zombie apocalypse. So like him on the bridge with, if you haven't read issue 1, a little bit of a spoiler, but he crashes into the person in front of him because he's like trying to get one up on him, just cause. So you can just tell this he's not connected to the real world. He's just a rich monster at this point.
I also liked the foreshadowing. I thought you guys did a really good job planting that seed like super early on. Like, because that was like, I feel pretty good at waiting for twists and everything, and I was like, okay, damn. That was a good one. Didn't see that one happening.
Yep.
So we get a interesting look at, they're held up. They have no idea what's going on. And there's like a crash up front with some police officers. And then things quickly turn chaotic, just like in a few flips of the pages. Like things just go from like 0 to 100. And people are just getting pulverized. Faces like punched into the ground, smashed. I loved, there was a scene in particular where you had part of the party up on top of a bridge, or on top, they were on the bridge, but on top of the bus, and there was a dead body, and there was like footsteps all around him, like they were stepping in his blood all around him, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. So I don't know how much of issue 1 you want to break down. I actually shout out to the team. They sent me copies. So how much? I guess like let's paint the tone for issue 1. So what else happens in issue 1 that leads us to issue 2?
So to give like a quick breakdown, issue 1, we start off on a bridge. So we always talked about not having an origin story. We just want to kind of throw you into these characters and see where they're picking up off their daily life. So pretty much it starts off, there's a traffic jam. So in a sense, imagine like a closed box, and in that closed box is rage infected who are trying to beat the crap out of you. And you got to try to escape this bridge. But on top of that, you got 50, 60 people around you. So it's a massacre, It's just kind of thrown you off right into the center of it. And we talked about earlier, he crashes into someone. You actually see them make a return at the end of the issue. And then that's kind of where issue 2 picks up from, is kind of just strangers, danger behind you, and how the hell can we get out of here?
And then we issue 2, we find Ian more of his amplified douchebaggery when he drops the ball for a chance for the party to get out. But he has a trick up his sleeve because he has the only way for them to actually move. But we end up finding out that he wasn't even right about that. He dropped the ball on that one too. So I love how you just keep on like poor Ian. Like at the end of this, it's like everybody just wants to like beat the crap out of him.
Yes.
So why have them kind of be stuck in that situation? I mean, I thought you guys did a really good job of building up the tension and the dialogue between the two conflicting parties. But what was the ultimate reasoning for having them kind of be stuck in that situation?
I guess you could say it was one of those things of like, all right, they're on this bridge, they have no vehicles, how are they getting out of here? Because clearly they can't outrun whatever's behind them, So what made the most sense is, all right, well, we have police officers here. It makes sense that there's vehicles here. But how can we get them from point A to point B? Because the other thing is, listen, if they had the keys to the car, they would have driven away already. Mm-hmm. So it was a kind of way to force the two to interact with each other as like, hey, I'm stuck, you're stuck. Maybe we can kind of work things out between the two of us. We don't like each other, from previous events, but it was a way to kind of let the two groups clash together and kind of get them introduced.
So there was a rather pivotal moment that happened, and I don't want to spoil too much of it, but was there what was your reasoning, I guess, for not having the infection like transmit through like hair touch?
So reason being, this infection, I guess I would say it is very brutal. And when it comes in contact with a person, but it can't really survive on its own. It's very parasitic in that way. It needs a host, it needs things that it can, feed on, stuff like that. And hair, doesn't have as many nutrients or things that it can survive off of. So even if it got on somebody's hair, it's going to die off quickly. It needs things like blood, and your blood carries a lot of, like proteins and sugars and stuff like that the virus needs to survive.
No, that I love that. That is such a really in-depth way to put it. I mean, what inspired you guys to like do that? Like, did COVID have any like impact on this? Because COVID, I know COVID like is one of those things where it only survived on surfaces for so long, so it kind of seems like somewhat of a similar concept.
So it was. How do I put this? We just kind of had an idea of, all right, this is how our infected work, and then it came down to, like Sam was saying, is the why or the how. How does that work? And I'm just like, oh crap, I gotta research this. And I'm just like, I spent I don't know how many months like, all right, viruses, what do they like to feed off of? What can they use to survive? And I'm just like researching. I don't even know how accurate I am. I need a doctor to fact check me probably. But I'm just like, what is something at least plausible I can put to give a reason as to how things work? It's not just why and what you're showing, but it also has to make sense of how that's making sense,
No, I love it because, there are readers who will read it and look at it in a more like in-depth manner. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a chance to kind of explain that too, because when we deal with like this level of infection and stuff, it's so like amazing to see how intricate it really is. You know what I mean? Like how you guys strive to set it apart from just like a typical like zombie thing. So like it's really awesome. I really love the world building in this as well. So issue 2 ends with them finally leaving. We won't really break into how they're able to or anything, but what do we see leading into issue 3 now?
Oh man, their personalities. It's a ticking time bomb, to be quite honest. You know, we talked about issue 3, and you know, I think our issues are really fast paced as far as like, you know, like not getting into a lot with the characters, and we're like, all right, we're 2 issues in, we've shown the infection, now let's show the characters. And they're kind of like all stuck in a car together, because the premise is the car is now fucked up, okay? And it's fucked up because they didn't have the keys and Frankie hotwired it. So it's almost that domino effect. And then you kind of see it's just them in the car arguing, bickering. You kind of see a little hints of some of these characters and how their personalities are going to be. And the ending of issue 3 is really like moving into what we call the junkyard arc. And that's kind of where 4, 5, and forward is going to kind of take place. And
we get our first introduction to Michael as well. Michael seemed like he was a rather significant character. I mean, there was a full page dedicated to him, you know. So who's Michael to this story?
Let's see how can I put this. Michael is going to be heavily influential in, I'm trying to use the correct words. So the events that take place next will pretty much shape out the rest of the story. So whatever's going on with Michael and his situation, which you kind of see in 4, and you're going to see a bit in 5 as well, is going to completely change the rest of the story of this comic. So this is kind of getting into, you know, what the primary goal of this comic is going to be.
No, absolutely. So speaking of 4, 4 gets really climatic, it feels like. You know, we actually get to the junkyard, but there's someone who is sick, and we kind of get an idea of like what symptoms to start looking for. You know, we get a good feeling that this guy is infected. Can you tell us like how he ended up getting infected like so far out? The junkyard, like, is there multiple points of infections like across the world, or was the bridge like the main like source? Like,
so the bridge was the first accumulation of, I'd say, a group of them, and the first time that our characters see them. The infection has kind of started a little bit beforehand, so it's still fairly new to people, but it has kind of made its way around.
Okay.
So you'll see, you know, a few people over here and over there, you know, have probably come in contact with it, and we do get a little bit into how this particular person did get infected, but we're focusing on New York right now, but it is in a few other places as well, which you'll see as the issues come out as well.
We also see some like suspicious feelings in the party too. We see a pair of them wondering how the other pair ended up with a child, because they don't look old enough to have kids. So I thought the way you were kind of building that suspicion within the group itself was done really well.
Thank you. I mean, it was always like, you know, like issue 4 was kind of like, I don't know, we tried to make it thought-provoking because we put an idea out there, and we wanted to see kind of where everyone stood. And it's a very kind of like over-the-top idea, but you kind of get everyone's reactions, and you're able to pull their personalities out of that one idea and kind of run with it in various different directions from everybody.
So Trey, you're doing the art for issue 5, correct? And so how does that feel jumping back into that seat? After, you know, the last 3 issues, you weren't the artist for it. So how does it feel coming back to it? And are you going to be the artist for it going forward?
Let's see. So I will be the artist from here on out. We figured it's probably the easiest option instead of, you know, hiring one here and there and going through any more design or style changes. I'm just going to be doing the art from here on out. That way we can kind of, 1, keep it uniform. 2, we control the time frame. 3, we control how it looks in every aspect. As far as me jumping back on, I guess at first it was still that little daunting feeling of, oh wow, I gotta do all this again. But I guess I'm kind of glad I took that break from 1 to 5, because with 1, I was kind of jumping in without any training. I had no idea what composition was or human anatomy or things like that. So when we were doing the issues in between, I was, going over all the finalized pages and just I was seeing about what the other artists did. I actually learned a lot from seeing what they did that I can incorporate into, how I'm drawing it from here on out. So things like, how does a hand work? If you rotate a hand this so many degrees, what does it look like? So there's things like that just helped me moving forward.
And as a consumer, it's wild to hear about all the different perspectives and the views you have to take in consideration when designing a panel, especially because you only have a few panels to tell the story on that page. So you to design it and to design it in motion too. That's a whole different level, it seems like.
Oh yeah, especially with the ideas we have, because we're always thinking of, this would be a great idea to do, and we write these stories out well in advance before it's being drawn. And it's now we're getting to me drawing them, like, wow, this idea is actually crazy. We actually hired people to do this because we're putting together all these crazy ideas of and there's gonna be a crash here, and this person's gonna flip over a table, and I'm like, how do I draw a table being flipped over?
So let's start setting the tone for issue 5. What can we expect in issue 5 without spoiling too much, the tone, the atmosphere of it? And then we actually have the opportunity to get an exclusive look at the Kickstarter campaign, which is dropping July 5th. So after this, we'll just go ahead and dive into the campaign and get a little bit of a closer look.
Yeah, absolutely. So issue 5 is crazy to me. It's I think the one element that I think we've lost, or not lost, but kind of get away from us a little bit, is the fear aspect, the horror aspect. From what I've seen Trey do, you feel that again.
Oh yeah.
You feel the darkness, you feel the horror, you feel scared. The premise of issue 5 is the infected is gone. He is no longer in the room he was in when he was in issue 4. The little boy is missing. So now we have an infected and we have a little boy, and they're out on the loose, and it is the goal to find him or stop this infected before it becomes much, much worse.
You guys need to be nice to that little boy first. He's about to get eaten under the bus. Now he's about to get eaten, chased after a ball.
That ball's important, Cody.
So, when it comes to creating comics, is there any golden rule with children? I mean, obviously you can't, do anything too distasteful, but murdering and killing children. I know for TV shows and movies, that's something I don't think you can really show on TV, right? Does the same rule apply for comics?
After that word.
We'll find out.
All right, I think that is the perfect segue for us. Let's go ahead and take a look at this campaign.
This is going to be our campaign for issue number 5. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down. The cool thing we try to incorporate, because we have so many issues out, is we're going to kind of do a lot of different catch-up tiers and digital and physical. But right off the bat, we kind of go into what is Raze and kind of gives you a rundown of that. This is actually a first look at issue 5. And obviously what you're gonna pretty much expect when we're going what we're going through in issue 5.
So Trey, when you were doing these pages, these are so when you look at it, the detail, and you could tell the experience from the last couple of issues. It just what techniques did you use that were different when you were first doing this?
Let's see. I mean, for one, like I said, my anatomy got a bit better because I was drawing things that weren't coming out quite right. And I knew our inker was fixing a few things. So I guess our composition, the way we're laying things out, is a bit better. My line work, my shading, I worked on a bit as well. And, the whole overall tone. So I use this, extra little brush I use to kind of give it that nice, darker shading feel to it. So I tried to mix my own few things in here to kind of make it a little bit different. I'm like, all right, if we're gonna do one more style change, let's just make it different and have that moving forward. So we try to make it as compelling and immersive as we possibly could in issues going forward.
I was gonna say, it definitely has a lot darker of a tone compared to issue 1. The couple of previews, it just the overall just entire page just seems a lot more darker and menacing.
Yeah, and I want to say, because I'm about to put Trey on the spot, but this man does this all on his phone. His phone. His phone.
That is insane. Like, so what do you do? Do you like stitch the panels together? Like,
so I open up my canvas, I set all the parameters, and then with my finger, I kind of finger paint on my phone, and then that's the final result.
That is fucking insane, dude. Holy shit. Like, you are the second person I've met who's done that, and it just seems like it's such an like, is it harder to use your finger compared to a pencil, or do you just find it easier?
I think I've gotten used to it by now, because I mean, I had a Cintiq when we first started, and it doesn't work anymore, so I had to transition to the phone, and also the phone I can carry it with me, so it was a bit more convenient, because sometimes if I'm at work and I have free time, I'm going to be working on this. And I've gotten so used to using my finger that it's almost like second nature to me. I did switch back to pencil and paper because I'm much quicker with pencil and paper. Digitally drawing, like using a Cintiq and a stylus, I'm not quite there yet in terms of like speed and accuracy, so I'm drawing it with pencil and paper, and then I'm going to re-ink it with my finger on my phone.
That is so, that's remarkable. We have Ichthus over on YouTube stopping in to say, what is up, total excellence? Welcome to the stream. How are you doing, Ichthus? That's impressive. That is impressive, Trey. Like, dude, it's if anything really inspiring too. The fact that you like overcame that, and then you were just like, screw it, I'm gonna do it on my phone. Nothing's gonna stop me. Like that. I love that mentality. That's awesome.
Oh, I did want to add, for anyone who's tuning in, these are going to be a lot of the rewards we're going to offer. So we will have issue 5's cover, and then we're doing a variant cover as well, which was done by Trey and our storyboarder / social promotion artist, Ben Willis, who is also my brother. So shout out to them. And then this is kind of a big hint of where we're going with the story. This is the Bucky poster, which we're going to be sending out physically 11x17 posters, which they came out super rad. So, and then we obviously got the sticker set.
I love the stickers, yeah.
Which was the line art was done by yours truly. So hopping on the design process too. And then we got the infected boy and girl zombie keychains. And then we're going through these characters, so this is actually put together. It's probably gonna by the end of the day, it will be. We're gonna be given a rundown of all these different characters, and it's actually like, if people are asking like what these characters are about, this is a good way to kind of get a look at all these different characters and moving forward with the story, what we're gonna try to implement. And there's gonna be a giant, like pretty much like a giant character poster that we've been working on for the past like month and a half, so which is going to be really cool. And then
that's so cool.
Obviously got Meet the Team, that's me. We got my little brother Ben, we got our cover artist Ivan, who does a phenomenal job on the cover. We got to add Trey, probably going to be done by the end of the day as well.
So is Ivan like an unlockable character? What's going on?
So okay, so let me break this down. So I emailed him, say, hey, we're doing this Kickstarter. We're going to be doing these really fun photos of pretty much whatever you want to do on it. And we're going to draw them up. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to take a photo and send it to you. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to have to put something together. I'm like, dude, why don't we just do it like, that hidden character that you haven't unlocked yet and just make it funny. Like, I'm bashing someone's head in with a computer and he's like, hi. So we just wanted to make it fun and, just playful. But the real interesting part is the rewards. So I'm just going to be kind of scrolling through them real quick. But digital, we're going to do our first issue for $3. So even if you don't have that money, you can kind of opt in for that. We're going to get digital $5 for issue 5. And then we're going to start doing digital packages. So for $12, you get all 5 issues, which to me is a steal.
Yeah.
You're going to get pretty much all the first 4 issues digitally for $15, and then you get a physical copy of issue 5 that we'll send out to you. We're going to do issue 1 through 4 digital, and then we're going to do a physical copy with the variant cover for $20. So if anybody wants the variant cover and they want it physically, we're going to be offering that. And then we're gonna kind of go through our sets.
Dude, I love that. That's awesome.
We're gonna give you all the issues, and we're gonna give you some stickers for $35. So you're actually gonna get two physical copies of issue 5 on this reward. And then you're gonna get the physical reward, which is just all the issues. You get the keychain, and then you get the stickers. And then 65, we're gonna break into pretty much everything else, but we're gonna sign issue 5, and that's gonna be pretty much most of the team. Ivan's all the way in Europe, so we can't get a signature. But me, Trey, and Ben will all be signing the issue for you. And then we're obviously gonna have the Bucky poster, which is gonna be physical as well. And then we're gonna do our physical set, and we're gonna add in an extra copy of the variant cover signed. And then we're gonna do an extra keychain for you as well on this tier. And then we get to the 120, and that's where you're gonna get the first official Raze dad hat. And then and then for the 200 one, you're gonna get the hat, and then we're gonna give you an infected drawing of yourself.
So is that gonna be like a print or in the comic?
So no, this is going to be something that we're going to send out to you. So we're going to have Trey's going to be working on the art, Ben's going to be working on the color, and then we're going to send it out to you. That one's going to be limited though, I will say, because we obviously are working on these issues. So we're only going to be doing 5. So if you want one, I highly suggest getting it early before it sells out.
So we have Ichthus saying, I'm doing good, bud. Enjoy my day. How are you and everyone in the panel doing? How are you guys doing? You guys having a good afternoon?
Yes, absolutely. We're enjoying ourselves.
Yeah, keeping it geekly. That's about the best you could do, right?
But yeah, that's pretty much our Kickstarter. It's gonna be fun, and we kind of zoomed over a little bit, but we do have all the and I'll kind of zoom back down to it. All the preview pages for issues 1 through 4. So kind of, if you haven't read it, gives you a quick catch up, but you can also still get the issues too. So it kind of gives you a breakdown a little bit of what the story's gonna entail and how. A little bit graphic it's gonna be, and where these characters are pretty much gonna take you. And then I do want to shout out Trey for this is my favorite issue by far, the ones we've done. The lighting he did, like it's supposed to show like the sun going down, and he's the one who came up with that idea, and that was just like the coolest thing ever, just to play with the gray tones and the lighting in that.
No, Trey, you really killed it. I love it, man.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be our Kickstarter, you know, and it's coming July 5th.
Let everyone know too. This is still they're still adding final touches. We are getting a extremely exclusive look at it, so this might look just a little different when it does go live. I think you made a mention of that earlier.
Yes, absolutely. So like probably, I mean, it's probably gonna be finalized by the very latest this weekend, but we got a lot of new art coming through that we just got to put up there and pin up there, and then it's pretty much done. And wanted to cover, we will be having stretch goals as well, which we're going to be implementing by the end of the weekend. And we got some pretty cool rewards going out for that. Shout out to the indie community, because one of the stretch goals is like 6 different comic books that aren't our own.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you're going to be getting kind of a taste of everything. So
yeah, that's awesome.
You know, obviously we want to get to that 2K, but once we hit that 2K, we want to get to 3K so we can send you guys out some comics from some really cool creators.
All right, so real quick, let's go ahead and remove the Kickstarter. We're going to be going back to our windowed squares. So Sam, Trey, for anyone, like we're imagining this after you guys' launch, you guys have the Kickstarter officially moving. For anyone that's on the fence for backing this, what would you like to say to them directly to kind of help them push them over that barrier to get them to back your book?
Let's say, if you know you've ever had a project or an idea that you ever want to really get into, or you're just somebody who enjoys, the indie community and just, stories made by people for people, I think you'll really enjoy this Kickstarter and the rewards that we're offering, because, at the end of the day, we have nothing to do without an audience. We want to connect with you, and it's another way for us to really give back to the people. I know we're asking for a bit of money, but really whatever we're giving you, we really do appreciate everything. We want to make sure that we can give enough back to the people as well.
All right, what about you, Sam?
Oh man, I'm gonna play the dark side on this. I mean, Trey, he's working on his phone We don't even have like a scanner. All this money that we're going to be getting, we're putting it right back into the comic. Whether it's promotion, marketing, production, physical copies. We're not seeing this as a payday, to be quite honest. Every single cent is going to go right back in. If anyone goes to my Twitter and checks out a really cool animation trailer we put up, that was done by our brother because we didn't have enough money to actually pay for an animator. So, I mean, everything that we're trying to do with the tiers and the rewards and this project, we're trying to push the envelope for storytelling, and we're also trying to give you something back because obviously you guys keep us going. The fans are always going to be our backbone to this story. So we appreciate the support and the love, and we hope you come join us on July 5th.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So what's next for you guys? Do you have anything in the works outside of Raze Comics, or, you know, how many issues are you looking at trying to knock out before you finish up this series, you know?
This is going to be quite a long series. So we have Raze in our foreseeable future for quite some time. As far as other projects, we definitely have some other projects in the works that will hopefully fairly soon be able to kind of do some dual releases for, and you'll kind of see that a little bit later, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, I hope everybody is in for the ride, because it's gonna be something pretty crazy.
Well, that is awesome to hear. So before we wrap up things completely, I always love asking this one question in particular, because as much as this is a show for you guys to promote your book and your work, it's also a nice little learning tool for anyone that's kind of watching that might be new or you know, a little wet behind the ears. So with that being said, for anyone that's struggling to get just started with their own project, their own creative process, but they're just having trouble getting going, what type of advice would you help them to kind of help them push through that barrier?
I would say, honestly, and take it from us, we started issue 1 3 times. We spent a buttload of money and we just stayed consistent. Comics are not an overnight thing. It takes quite a time to get them off the ground and to get them started and to go through that process. Take it day by day. Take it from someone who is anxiety driven and freaks out about due dates and production and pages. It does not happen overnight. You kind of just have to take a breath and say, okay, I can do this week. Okay, next week I can do this next week. And you just take it as it comes.
What about you, Trey? Anything on your end that you might want to add?
I guess I would say, and this is kind of like my golden rule, is never be afraid of failure. And that means many things. Failure is not, you not being successful at something. Because you learn more doing something 10 times wrong than you do it once right. Yeah. Just get out there and do it. There's going to be mistakes along the way. As long as you learn from them, you keep going, you're going to get there. And also, don't overthink things. Because I overthink, and I may not show it sometimes, but things like the art that I've done, I overthink a lot. And I'm like, art has to be absolutely perfect. And I'm like combing over with a microscope and stuff like that. And it's really just, don't forget to have fun with what you're doing. Your passion project should not be stressful. It should be something fun that you enjoy to do. So as long as you hit all those things, I think you'll be just fine.
Wow, I love it. Both of you had such unique perspectives, and I think both of those pieces of advice were just perfect. I appreciate that. Trey, Sam, thank you guys for joining us. And just helping break down this comic with me and everything in between, getting the exclusive look at the Kickstarter. This has been a phenomenal Thursday. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Cody.
And for anyone watching, I hope you guys are all having an awesome Thursday. It is beautiful outside. I need to start getting ready for work. I'm sure Sam and Trey have to get some work done. Trey, those fingers, man, bless those fingers. I am still mind blown that you are designing this comic by your fingers. That is just insane, dude. Holy crap. But yeah, everyone watching, thank you so much. I hope you have an awesome day. Most importantly, though, keep it geekly.